Hey guys, welcome back to another video. Today we're going to talk some more about Guilty Gear Strive because there's been a new developer's backyard. It actually released yesterday. I didn't have time to talk about this. There's a couple of things I want to say when it comes to these questions and these answers. So this is a good developer's backyard, by the way. If you don't know, I linked it in the description below. Anyways, let's get into it. So the first question is going to be, is your goal with Guilty Gear Strive to create a complex fighting game or a simpler one? So I've already read this entire answer, which is pretty long for a very short question, by the way, but it's almost because I feel like they are kind of tired of talking about this topic because they've mentioned this again and again. But anyways, the answer is pretty much that they want to make the game easier to look at, but it doesn't mean the game is going to be easy to play. It's going to be simple to understand but not easy to play necessarily. So that's what they talk about a lot. They also mentioned something that is really important, which is matchmaking, and that if the players find other players of the same level, there's no need for the developers to make a game that is going to be toned down necessarily for new players so that they can beat advanced players, which is kind of true, which is right? They don't need to do that, and that's true. If the fact that they are aware of it is also very good, because something that people complain about a lot, that new players just want to win. They don't want to lose against older players. But I've never heard that before, honestly, except in the fighting game community. Outside of the fighting game community, I've never heard people say that new players want to beat advanced players, honestly. Probably because they have matchmaking systems that don't work properly, maybe, but who knows. Anyways, the one thing that I want to talk about here is tutorials, because a lot of people say that some fighting games have good tutorials and things like that, but I don't think I've seen a single fighting game with a good tutorial, to be honest. Even some of the less known fighting games, when it comes to tutorial, things like, let's say maybe Skullgirls, let's say maybe even the one game that came out, which is them fighting her, something like that, and also KI, let's say, right? KI, Guilty Gear. People say that some of these tutorials are good, some of them are not so good, but honestly, I've seen all of these tutorials. They're all bad. They're all bad, especially when I compare them to some other games, some other competitive online games as well. And one tutorial that I found to be really, really good was the League of Legends tutorial. So the League of Legends tutorial is it's a little bit long, because they make you play a match. Literally, they make you play like a game of League of Legends against the AI, and a game of League of Legends can take like 15 to maybe 20 minutes or something like that. Because the League of Legends tutorial did what they said to me in that tutorial was stay behind your minions. So stay behind your minions was a message. It was a vocal message. First of all, it was vocal, so I could hear it all the time when I was messing up. It was constantly telling me stay behind the minions. And what it means, stay behind the minions in League of Legends, is pretty much your footsies. So this is something that people do at all levels of play in League of Legends. Low level players, bronze players, to masters. It's something that you do all the time. Like, stay behind your minion is also something that you can do in other MOBAs. You can do it in Dota. You can do it in Paragon when it was around. It was the same thing. You just stay behind the freaking minions. No fighting game teach you footsies. A game like Grand Blue that I play every day. Literally, when I stream Grand Blue, there's someone that has been very nice to me. One of my viewers. He bought Grand Blue recently because he wants to play Belial, and unfortunately, he doesn't have a lot of experience when it comes to fighting games, 2D fighting games, traditional fighting games, right? So he don't have a lot of experience with that, and we spent like 2 to 3 hours like teaching him how to do just light auto combo into Fireball. Is that normal? I don't think it is. A game like Game Blue also has like a proximity system, so we also had to go through using your far moves, like far medium, fireballs, things like that. And things that Guilty Gear Strive is already doing that is really, really good is to put characters in classes. It's not that good yet, but it's actually getting better. It's actually going somewhere, in my opinion. So we have the balance characters, power, tricky, speed, things like that. All of that is super good, and you also have stats in terms of the range of the character, where they're good at. At what range they're really good. So that is super good. That's something that is super good for a fighting game to do. You know, character archetypes. Where do I find these things? Where do I know how to play my character? What is the archetype of my character? How do I know this? In terms of simplification, while I agree with a lot of things that they say here, I think having tutorials to teach people how to do the most basic stuff, you know, the most basic stuff that exists in a fighting game, I think that's going to be the most important thing before even simplifying any fighting games. So tutorials are super important. They're so long in fighting games. They're so long. They're so heavy in terms of you know, mechanics and stuff like that. They're so like, it's just info dump. You're like info dumping people in the mind. I think tutorials have to get better in fighting games before we can start talking about simplifying stuff. That's already a form of simplification that can help a lot. So I'm hopeful that maybe someday fighting games get better tutorials. Anyways, let's move on. We spent like 10 minutes talking about this, but that was the one point that's super important to me that I really wanted to talk about in this video. Now let's move on to Q2, question 2, the story for Guilty Gear Strive. Pretty much to say, yeah, it's going to be a continuation of the Exert series, but it's also going to be in a way for new players to enjoy. I'm guessing it's going to be more like a continuation, but kind of a filler arc if you want. After Guilty Gear Exert. Question 3 is about the hidden techniques and the subtlety of Guilty Gear Strive, right? So Guilty Gear Strive, a lot of people say it's simple, but it's a game that is incredibly tricky in my opinion. There's things that people did in the beta and then they posted on Twitter. There's like this weird thing where people can just do an air dash and cross up people with the FD. They do FD canceling during air dash and then they can fall faster and immediately cross up people. It's extremely fast. So that's the kind of thing that they want to, it seems like it's the kind of thing they want to keep in the game. They're aware of these things. They mentioned that there's going to be more. So they say that there's pretty much going to be more things, but they're not going to make them so obvious like they did with the RC system, right? How they presented the RC, because they want people to discover stuff. They want people to discover stuff, and they want people to exceed their expectation as the developers, right? Moving on to question 4, which is going to be rollback netcode. Pretty much they say, this is a very funny question, by the way it's asked. It seems to be like a super American player, you know, why aren't you guys addressing rollback netcode in these blogs? But anyways, so the thing that I say is that yes, Guilty is going to have rollback netcode, but we don't want to talk too much about it. We want people to test them for themselves when the game is playable again, right? So that's what they say. Maybe it's going to be in the next beta, who knows? I hope it is, so we can actually have fun and enjoy, you know, the online, because the online was abysmal during the beta because it was delay based netcode, and hopefully they also fix the lobbies. But one thing that I wanted to ask, because I don't know this too much about this topic, is going to be about the rollback netcode. So I've watched one video. I don't want to spend too much time on this topic, but I've watched like one video, and it was about the rollback netcode, how it worked and all. And I think one thing they said is that the rollback netcode is trying to predict what moves you're doing, so it can play the animation properly. And one thing that exists in Guilty Gear Strive compared to the older Guilty Gear is that, you know, Guilty Gear Strive is a bit heavy. It's a bit heavy and a bit slower. I would say it has more downtime to it during the fights, but it doesn't lose the impact necessarily. It's very impactful, and it's because of all the hit stops animation, all the slow down effect that exists that kind of happen at the same time, and the game looks really cool and impactful in my opinion. I wonder if all of that can help for rollback netcode. Can it make the implementation of rollback netcode easier for them? So that's something that I don't know, and I would like, maybe if someone knows more about that, I would like someone to clarify that for me, just so we have hope for the rollback netcode to be actually good and not to be like Street Fighter 5. Anyways, moving on, the next thing is going to be the ranking system. This person asked a really good question. I like this a lot. So they say that the ranking system was really bad, that they didn't like the ranking system in the older Guilty Gears, actually Exert, right? And that it was kind of a problem because sometimes, you know, people don't like the square system, you know, that exists in Arc System games, for example, Blaze Blue or even Dragon Ball Fighters, you have the square on your character. If your square is kind of a certain color, let's say maybe green, I think. So like green, you know, people don't want to fight you because they think that you're a noob. Orange, you're too strong, we're not fighting you as well. Or pink, nobody's gonna fight. Some people are not going to fight you necessarily because of that. So it's kind of difficult to find matches. It's not even your rank at this point. It's just something that tells people if you win your matches or not. If you're a good player or not. People are like, no, we're not gonna fight you. So that's kind of a problem. There's also, then you have the rank, but people don't really go into rank mode because they don't want to spend, they don't want to, they're afraid of losing the points and stuff like that. So this person talked about it in this question, and they say that maybe it would be better to have like a different thing, like a title maybe that's going to be better, such as Master of the Soul matchup, stuff like that. So I think they bring up something that's super interesting in this question. I really like it. And they answer really well as well. They say that, yeah, they are aware that people don't like the rank modes in the matchmaking system in the old legacy years, and they don't like the rankings and all, and that even having multiple online modes would split the player base, right? It split the player base, which is already really small, so they don't want that either, and they want to bring up something new to Guilty Gear Strive so that people are not so much afraid to lose the points, so people can play the game. And also they want to say that they are implementing some more online features. I'm guessing it's going to be something like being able to see if someone is on Wi-Fi or if someone is on LAN, right? So that's going to be interesting. But one thing that I would say is that, you know, I'm all for it, but I hope also that they, you know, my hope for any fighting game is to add an incentive for people to grind. I play Grand Blue once again. I really love that game, but I think it's a game that does a lot of things well. But in Grand Blue, you know, they have the weapon skins, for example. And weapon skins, I think they're really cool. But what if they had weapon skins that were like exclusive to rank mode? If you reach a certain rank, you can have this weapon skin, or maybe unlock like a special currency. I think they have that in Overwatch. Like if you play online a lot, it doesn't matter if you lose or win. If you play your rank modes, you unlock a currency that is going to give you access to golden weapons, and it doesn't matter how many times you lose or win. You can just lose or win, and you're gonna gain the currency anyways just for playing ranks. I think that would be dope to encourage people to play the games, right? To play the online mode. But also, one thing that I want to talk about when it comes to online is the community aspect. I think someone talked about it. I think it was Majin Obama. They said that you know, fighting games, it's hard because it's very intimate. A lot of people have this point. They say that fighting games are very intimate, and it's kind of hard for them to be played online and to be enjoyable online compared to offline arcades, stuff like that. And it made me think that, you know, other online games have a very strong community aspect because they are team-based games, right? Play League of Legends, play Overwatch, but being a team-based game, you have to communicate with people, you have to interact with people. It can be very toxic, it can be a very toxic environment, it can be a very nice environment if you find friends to play with. And a lot of people also have stories, right, where they even found their partner for life, I would say. I don't know how to say that in English, but they found the partners during online matches, right? So they found their wives, their husbands, right? Things like that. Their best friends, even sometimes online, right? And those stories exist also for fighting games where you find people at the arcade, right? Those stories exist, but fighting games online don't have that aspect, unfortunately. And that's why I think that maybe fighting games should add something like a guild system, you know, because right now people like to have teams. And one thing that happened once again with Grand Blue is that there's 10v10 tournaments, like big team-based tournaments where people just fight each other, and that's cool in Japan, right? They do like the Guilty Gear community versus the King of Fighter community, like 10v10. I think that's dope. So if fighting games can have like a guild system, it can also be really good for beginners because then they can find it's easier for people to find people to help them. It's easier to seek for help. So that's also better for beginners as well, in my opinion. And it also avoids the problem of being a Discord fighting game, in my opinion, right? Because everyone likes to hang out in Discord. They don't play online. They're not online every time. But I think it'd just be easier to have like a guild system in the game where people can interact with each other already, and also have like you can have like mini tournaments or stuff like that where you can have like team-based tournaments as well. I think that would be dope, but maybe it's just my crazy ideas. So anyways, the last question is about the FD and the IB situation. So I don't know too much about this, but pretty much the dev says they said that they're not really happy about this because it decreased the reward gain from successfully IBing, and people would avoid using IB every time in the beta. So I think they're saying that they are going to change it. They're going to change the input as well. So, and they say they're keeping something very exciting for the next time we can play the game as well. Anyways, that's it for this developers update. I really wanted to talk about simplification. I wanted to talk about the online environment and stuff like that. So that's gonna be it for this video. This was a really good developers backyard once again. I hope they do good for this year's try. I'm hoping that we can have an announcement that we can have like a new beta coming out. That'll be sick. So people can finally play, like, we can play Zato, we can play Milia, we can play Leo, right? That'll be dope. But yeah, that's it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you all next time.